Have you ever heard of Candyman? If you look in the mirror, you say his name 5 times.
Good artists copy, while great artists steal. Pablo Picasso. As a fledgling artist, I found it difficult to wrap my head around this concept, and more importantly, I couldn't employ it. Largely because, like many amateurs out there, one wants to create a vision that is singular and uncompromising, a misguided need that stems from untempered pride. But now, with more years and experience propping up my existence and artistic endeavors, the notion of outright stealing ideas, storylines, and characters from other intellectual properties is one I wholeheartedly welcome. Because in case you haven't noticed, all the media we consume is cannibalistic in nature. Take the running phenomenon and success of superhero movies. The mighty Thor, for example, a hero from Norse mythology, modernized and packaged with pop sensibilities for today's audience. Or the fact that between Deadpool and Deathstroke, and the hundreds of characters in between, Marvel and DC are constantly copying each other's creations, albeit with just enough individual twists and quirks to avoid legal consequences and audience wrath. Moreover, a cursory glance of the catalog of the behemoth of entertainment that is Disney reveals that most of their IPs are iterations of classic fairy tales and stories from the works of classic authors such as Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm. And even more prescient, there are many videos we are exposed to on YouTube that are easily interchangeable. For example, the many movie ending explain channels on the platform. This concept permeates most of, if not all of our media. And in that spirit, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you now, Candyman is Dracula. Let's begin. Candyman is a classic horror movie, and is made so because it shares DNA with one of the greatest classic horror movies and characters of all time, Dracula. For this comparison, I'll mostly be referencing Bram Stoker's Dracula, as well as a few other takes on the blood-sucking aristocrat. Now check it. Subscription, description, prescription, do it all for me. Yeah. Algorithms, notifications, like buttons, dislike buttons, share that button for me. Share that video for me. Yeah, so good. Yeah. Subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. Dracula follows the story of a prince deeply in love with a woman whom he's eternally destined to find and lose. Depending on the version, Dracula is either betrayed and then condemned to become a being of the night, or his wife is misled, which leads her to killing herself, leaving Dracula distraught. After which, he then curses God and becomes the master of darkness that we've all come to know. After a long slumber, Dracula returns and once again comes face to face with his long-lost love, a story destined to end with him losing her once again. In Candyman, our hook-handed phantom was the son of a former slave who found fortune during the 1800 Civil War. Candyman became a painter and fell in love with and impregnated the daughter of a wealthy white man. Deeply angered by the fact that his daughter consorted with a black man, the wealthy man hired a bunch of thugs who lynched Candyman. They cut off his right hand, doused him with honey, and set a hive of bees on him, which then stung him to death. Committed to writing a thesis on the myth of Candyman, Hannah ventures to Cabrini Green, where the tales of Candyman are very real. There, she comes face to face with the tragic monster who wants to possess her because she is the reincarnation of the woman he loved many, many years ago. And just like Dracula, Candyman doesn't succeed in keeping his woman and is once again relegated to darkness, forever longing for the love he will never have. Despite these similarities, Candyman is a very different narrative because of the way it transports this classic story to a modern urban setting and the way it tackles the American socio-economic divide of 1992. And because of this, the last thing the audience thinks about is Dracula as Hannah traverses the urban decay of the Cabrini Green housing project. None of the reviews or analysis that I have watched of Candyman have touched on its similarity to Dracula, And that is testament to the success that can come from stealing an idea and expertly constructing it in an idiosyncratic manner so as to produce a wholly new story. On that note, you should check out Ryan Hollinger's content. He always has insightful videos on movies and has an especially great video on why Candyman is so messed up. Now, as an artist, I find this very inspiring and a great source of motivation as I endeavor to produce worthwhile content. But there's a dark side to this concept, a flip side that we see all the time. An example that comes to mind is the Guy Pearce action vehicle, Lockout, a movie largely maligned because of its striking similarity to John Carpenter's Escape from New York. Even though very different in setting, Lockout doesn't do enough to differentiate itself from its inspiration, whereas Candyman can be considered as an alternate and legitimate vision of Dracula that can stand on its own because of its rendition deeply rooted in black history and the black experience, specifically the tragic story of Emmett Till, a boy brutally murdered on August 28, 1955 in Mississippi for supposedly flirting with a white woman. A story that Candyman's origin is very similar to. Because of this historical inspiration, the Dracula similarity is even more obfuscated. Now, we are expecting the release of a new Candyman movie sometime this year, and it's not a remake, but a completely new story, co-written by Get Out's Jordan Peele. From what I've discovered, the story follows an artist, Anthony, who moves into the now gentrified Cabrini Towers, where a chance encounter with an old-timer exposes Anthony to the story of Candyman. Anthony uses this as inspiration for his latest work and unknowingly opens a door to a complex past that unravels his own sanity and unleashes a wave of violence. From the trailers, it seems like Anthony gets possessed by Candyman, which is an idea explored in the original, where to the onlooker, Hannah appears to be a murderer possessed by Candyman. It looks interesting, and Jordan Peele is a great writer, but I fear the movie will be lacking the drama and depth that comes from the fact that Hannah is the reincarnation of Candyman's lover, someone Candyman actively seeks to possess, but we have to wait and see. Now, if you take anything away from Picasso's quote, it should be that you should have confidence in the knowledge that what you are creating isn't entirely new, and that isn't a bad thing. Moreover, if your work in progress doesn't seem to resonate with you or an audience, or seems to be missing something, then maybe it's because the soul of the work lacks familiarity, a familiarity that is present in all works, a familiarity that comes from all works. And if you are looking for inspiration, look no further than your favorite movie, news stories, songs, or comic books. Steal from them, recontextualize them, make them unrecognizable. But most important of all, Candyman. 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 Candyman.
Candyman
is Dracula. Hey folks, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Let me know what you thought about it. Hit that like, subscribe, notification bell, dislike, share it with your friends. But most important of all, let me know if you know of any movies, stories, books, or anything you feel are complete ripoffs of anything else, or are tasteful iterations of other stories out there, other intellectual properties. Let's have that discussion down below in the comments. And until next time, we live in a society. Peace.